The forgotten world, the city of Koresh, shimmered under twin suns, its towers grown from living crystal, spires bending toward the sky like frozen waves. Alien markets hummed with voices chirping, hissing, rumbling, and layered in scents of spice, metal, and wet stone. Yet in the crowd, one figure did not belong. His name was Caleb Rains, human, though most here had never seen one. He carried himself like a man built of both steel and scars, shoulders broad, eyes sharp, hands rough from work. Where aliens flowed with elegant grace, Caleb moved with stubborn weight. Every step heavy on the crystal ground. He was a mechanic, a survivor, and one of the very last born from Earth. But Earth, that name was dust in alien mouths. A joke, a myth, a ruined blue rock abandoned centuries ago. The Galactic Compact often laughed when the subject came up. Humans? Oh yes, the primitive wanderers. The species that scattered like ash after their home burned. Adaptable, yes, but weak. Always begging for a place at someone else's table. Caleb heard the laughter. He felt it cut deep, but he said nothing. Not yet. At his side stood Vela, his closest friend. She was not human, her people. The Severin were lithe, with pale skin faintly glowing like moonlight. Her hair, silver strands woven with tiny beads, fell across her ridged shoulders. She was smaller than Caleb, but her eyes, deep violet, held the kind of strength only survivors knew. "You're tense," Vela murmured, her voice melodic, though tinged with worry. "You feel it too, don't you?" Caleb kept scanning the market stalls. "Yeah, something's coming." For weeks, rumors spread through Koresh. Whispers of fleets moving in the void. Fleets not of the Compact, but of the Dravari Dominion. An empire that swallowed systems without mercy. The Dominion did not negotiate. It conquered. And Koresh lay directly in their path. Caleb stopped before a stall. Alien crystals pulsed with faint light power cells, beautifully cut. A merchant hissed something in the local tongue, but Caleb ignored it. His thoughts weren't here. They were on Earth. No one had seen Earth in generations. Some said that oceans boiled. Others said alien weapons shattered it into glass. But Caleb knew something different. His grandfather had told him, whispering like a man sharing a secret too dangerous to repeat. Earth is not gone. It waits. And one day, humanity will return. Caleb thought it was just a story. Until now, because 3 nights ago, through static-laced, comes on the outer rim, Caleb intercepted a signal. Old Earth code. Human code. A simple phrase. We are coming home. Now he couldn't stop thinking about it. Caleb, Vela pressed, pulling him back from the memory. The Dominion fleet, if it arrives, Koresh will burn. My people, we can't fight them. Her voice broke. Vela's family lived here. Everything she loved could vanish. Caleb clenched his jaw. Humanity had lost so much. Scattered across alien systems, stripped of pride, mocked as vagrants. But they had survived. And if the signal was true, if humans had rebuilt, regrouped, and now prepared to return, then maybe, just maybe, there was hope. He placed a heavy hand on Vela's shoulder. Then we won't let them burn it. Trust me. Before she could reply, the skies screamed. Alarms shrieked through Koresh. People ran, wings beating, tails lashing, voices rising in 1,000 tones of panic. Caleb and Vela looked up. Across the horizon, sharp silhouettes cut through the clouds' black warships, engines glowing red like coals. The Dravari had arrived. Koresh's. Defense towers lit up, crystal beams arcing into the sky. Explosions bloomed like fireflowers. Streets trembled under shockwaves. Caleb grabbed Vela's wrist and pulled her into the chaos. We have to move. Dravari dropships screamed down, metal claws slamming into the streets. Soldiers poured out, armored beasts with curved blades and plasma rifles. They fired indiscriminately, cutting through civilians as if life meant nothing. Vela gasped at the sight of her people falling. Caleb's face hardened. He had seen war before, but this. He dragged her into a narrow alley as explosions rattled. The ground. Overhead, Koresh's defense fleet scrambled, but one by one, their ships burned and fell. No match for Dominion firepower. This city won't hold, Caleb said grimly. We need to get off-world, now. But where? Vela cried, tears streaking her glowing skin. Caleb didn't answer. His eyes lifted beyond the flames, beyond the black ships, beyond Koresh itself, dot to the stars. Because if the signal was true, if Earth was waiting, then there was only one place left to run .Earth. And if humanity had truly returned, then the galaxy had no idea what storm was about to break. The ground shook violently. A massive Dravari war machine, towering like a walking fortress, smashed through a district wall. Civilians scattered like insects. Caleb and Vela barely dove aside as its plasma cannons roared. Caleb rolled, dirt and blood on his face, heart pounding. Vela's hand slipped from his dot when he looked back. She was gone. Vela! He roared over the thunder, but the Dominion. Tide swallowed the streets. The world turned to fire. Asterisk, the last mechanic Caleb's voice was swallowed by fire and thunder. Vela! Smoke rolled thick through the alley, glowing orange from plasma fire. Shards of crystal rained from broken towers. Above, Caleb pushed forward, desperate, shoving past panicked Sevaran civilians as the Dominion war machine lumbered in the distance, its cannons still shrieking with every discharge. But Vela was gone. He coughed hard, lungs burning from the acrid air, his eyes stinging as he searched. No trace. Just chaos children crying, elders stumbling, families torn apart. The Dominion didn't care. They didn't occupy. They consumed. Caleb forced himself to focus. Panic wouldn't help. He had survived worse, and he'd find her. But first get out of this kill zone. He ducked through broken scaffolding into a collapsed plaza. Dominion soldiers were already here, towering reptilian brutes with segmented armor, curved helmets, and eyes glowing faint green. Their plasma rifles hummed low, deadly. The Sevaran civilians scattered like frightened birds. Caleb didn't run. He crouched low, his hand finding a length of broken steel pipe among the rubble. The alien soldiers moved in disciplined lines, scanning, firing. One raised his rifle toward a mother shielding her child. Caleb's teeth clenched. Not today, asterisk. He sprinted forward, silent as he could in the chaos. At the last second, he swung the pipe down hard across the soldier's weapon. The impact sparked, knocking the rifle aside. Before the alien could turn, Caleb rammed the jagged end into its side, where the armor was weakest under the arm. The soldier screeched and fell. Caleb ripped the plasma rifle from its grasp. It felt heavy, alien, but his soldier's hands remembered. He turned the weapon on the second soldier and fired. The shot cracked like thunder, tearing through armor and chest. The alien collapsed. In a smoking heap, the civilians froze, staring at him wide-eyed. Caleb barked, "Move! Get to the underground tunnels. Go!" Asterisk, the Sevaran obeyed, sprinting toward the sewer grates hidden near the plaza edge. Caleb exhaled hard, scanning the ruined street. He felt the familiar hum of battle, the way everything narrowed to seconds, instincts, choices. He hated it. He thought he left war behind years ago. But war had found him again, and he had work to do. Asterisk 2 hours later. Caleb crouched in the ruins of an old power hub, sweat streaking through the ash on his face. His stolen plasma rifle leaned beside him, cooling from use. Around him, A handful of survivors huddled, Sevaran elders, workers, a few wounded. Their glowing skin flickered faintly in the dim light. One of them, an older Sevaran named Rhesus, spoke hoarsely. "You fight like no one I've seen. Who are you?" Caleb shook his head. "Doesn't matter. What matters is keeping you alive." But Rhesus pressed. "You are not Sevaran. You're one of them, the forgotten ones, human." The others murmured. The word was strange on their lips, human. Caleb didn't deny it. He simply checked the power cell on the rifle, sliding it back in with a snap. Name's Caleb, mechanic mostly. Fighter when I have to be. Mechanic? A young Sevaran scoffed. "You took down Dominion soldiers with a stick." Caleb almost smiled. "That's the thing about humans. We make do with what we've got." Silence hung for a moment. Outside, distant booms shook the air as Dominion ships hammered Koresh's defenses into rubble. Caleb looked at their faces, the fear, the exhaustion. And then he thought of Vela, somewhere out there, maybe in chains. His chest tightened. He stood. "We can't stay here. Dominion will sweep this district soon. There's an old docking bay under the east cliffs. If we can reach it, I can get us off-world." "Off-world?" Rhesus echoed. "To where? There is nowhere safe. The Dominion spreads across the sector. The compact won't help us. They never do." Caleb hesitated. He had planned to keep it to himself. But these people had a right to know. He lowered his voice. 3 nights ago, I caught a signal. Old Earth code, human code. Their eyes widened. What did it say? Someone whispered. Caleb's voice was steady, though inside his heart pounded. It said, "We are coming home." The Sevaran whispered among themselves. Some in disbelief, others in hope. "Earth is dead," one said sharply. "Everyone knows that." Maybe that's what they wanted us to think, Caleb answered. "But if that signal was real, and Earth isn't dead, humanity isn't gone. We've been hiding, rebuilding." He looked each of them in the eye. "And if they're really back, then maybe we're not as alone as we thought." The group moved at night, through smoke and shadow. Caleb led them through ruined streets, always searching for signs of Dominion patrols. He salvaged parts as they went, power conduits, cracked drones, anything useful. To the others, it looked like junk. To Caleb, it was survival. When one of the wounded faltered, Caleb rigged a hover sled from a broken delivery drone and some cable. When their water supply ran out, he cracked open a Dominion canister and built a purifier from scraps. Every problem he fixed. That was what humans did, but as they neared the east cliffs, they found the path blocked. A Dominion patrol guarded the tunnel entrance. 6 armored soldiers, heavy rifles, a scanning drone circling above. The refugees froze. Panic spread. Caleb raised a hand. "Stay low. Stay quiet." He studied the patrol, brain ticking. The drone. That was the key. Dominion drones were networked. If he could crack its link, he could blind the soldiers. He pulled tools from his belt, a plasma cutter, stripped wires, a shard of crystal. He crouched in the rubble, fingers working fast. The others watched in awe as he built something from nothing. A minute later, he held a crude device no bigger than his hand. "Let's see if this works." He waited until the drone passed close. Then he threw the device high. It snapped onto the drone's casing with a magnetic click. Sparks flew. The drone spun erratically and crashed to the ground. The soldiers roared in alarm, looking upward. That was the opening. Caleb didn't hesitate. He charged. Plasma fire seared past him, close enough to burn his sleeve. He dove into cover, firing. Back with the stolen rifle. 2 soldiers dropped. The others spread, firing wildly. The refugees panicked, but Rhesus shouted, rallying them. They threw rocks, debris, anything to distract the soldiers. Caleb fought like a man possessed, every motion survival honed. Duck, fire, move. His heart thundered, his mind sharp. He remembered battlefields of his past, the friends he lost. He remembered why he hated war, and he remembered why he fought anyway. One by one, the Dominion fell. The last soldier raised his blade, charging. Caleb sidestepped, grabbed a steel rod from the ground, and jammed it into the alien's visor. The soldier screamed and collapsed. Silence. Caleb stood there, chest heaving, sweat dripping. Around him, the Savarans stared in disbelief. Rhesus spoke first. "You are more than a mechanic." Caleb spat blood, shaking his head. "No, I'm exactly that. Just a mechanic who refuses to die." He motioned them forward. "Let's move." They reached the east cliffs by dawn. The docking bay loomed half buried, half collapsed, but still intact. Inside, rusting ships waited, abandoned decades ago. Caleb's eyes narrowed, scanning. He could fix one. He had to. But as he led the survivors, inside, something caught his eye. On the far wall, half hidden under debris, was a Dominion console. Active. Humming. He approached cautiously. The interface was alien, but his fingers knew the language of machines. He bypassed locks, scrolling through encrypted files. And then, his blood ran cold. The Dominion weren't just invading Koresh. They were searching for coordinates. A world flagged as ancient human origin. Earth. And the files confirmed what Caleb had always suspected. Earth was not destroyed. It had been hidden, shielded, waiting. His throat tightened. His grandfather's words came back. One day, humanity will return. Caleb stared at the console, hands shaking. Behind him, Rhesus asked quietly, "What is it?" Caleb turned, eyes blazing with both fear and hope. "It's Earth," he said. "It's alive." And outside, the distant thunder of Dominion cannons grew closer. Asterisk. The signal of Earth, the Dominion console, glowed cold green in the half-collapsed docking bay. Caleb's rough fingers hovered above the alien glyphs, translating in his head as fragments of data scrolled across the screen. His heart thudded louder with each line. He cracked open. Coordinates. Files. Historical notations. Earth. Not destroyed. Not glassed. Not boiled away in war like the galaxy believed. Hidden. Shielded by something the Dominion called a veil field. Its power source was unidentified, but one thing was clear. The Dominion were searching for a way through. Caleb exhaled sharply. His chest was tight, as if the air itself resisted the truth. All his life he carried the weight of loss, of being from a people who were laughed at, pitied, forgotten. Now, in the glow of a stolen console, he saw the lie unravel. Humanity had never truly vanished. Behind him, the Savaran survivors whispered nervously. Their glowing skin flickered in the dim light, like fireflies in a storm. Rhesus stepped forward, voice cautious. "Earth is real?" Caleb turned, eyes burning with something fierce. "It's alive." "And they?" He jabbed a finger at the console. "They're trying to break in." A wave of murmurs swept through the refugees. Hope, fear, disbelief. One young Savaran shook his head. "Even if Earth is real, what does it matter? The Dominion's fleet burns everything in its path. They'll take your world too." Asterisk. Caleb squared his shoulders. "Not if we get there first. Not if humanity is waiting like that signal said." He pulled the small receiver from his belt, the cracked comms unit that had first caught the faint Earth transmission. He tapped it, showing the weak pulse of code still echoing in its buffer. This came 3 nights ago. Old Earth encryption. It wasn't just a myth. They're alive. And they're calling us home. Vela's face flashed in his mind. She had to still be alive. He would find her. And when he did, he'd bring her with him to Earth. The docking bay's ships were ancient, but one vessel stood out. Sleek lines, compact frame design for short-haul runs across a system. Its hull was cracked, its reactor offline, but Caleb's eyes traced it like a puzzle begging to be solved. He climbed inside, brushing dust from faded panels. "This one will fly," he muttered. RHY Sis peered in after him. "It's dead." Caleb snorted. "So was my first hoverbike when I was 12. I stripped it for parts, rebuilt it, and rode it 2 years before it blew up under me. Point is dead doesn't mean gone." For hours Caleb worked. Sweat poured down his face, his hands blackened with grease and ash. He pulled crystals from the ruined bay lights and wired them into the reactor's cracked matrix. He repurposed Dominion power cells to jumpstart the drives. Where alien engineers saw junk, Caleb saw possibility. The Sevarin watched in silence. They had always heard stories of humans scrappy, desperate, always clawing for survival. But watching Caleb bend broken machines into working ones felt like witnessing myth turn real. Finally, with a groan of metal, the ship's engines hummed. Lights flickered across the cabin. The Sevarin gasped. Caleb leaned back against the console, exhausted, but grinning faintly. "Told you. She fly." The refugees embraced each other, a fragile spark of hope in the ruins. But hope shattered an instant later. A heavy metallic clang echoed through the bay. Then another. Then a hiss as the massive doors groaned open. Dominion soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Caleb cursed under his breath. They'd been tracked. The Severin froze in terror. Caleb grabbed his plasma rifle, planting himself between the refugees and the soldiers. "Get in the ship, now!" The first shot screamed through the bay, shattering consoles and sending sparks. Flying, Caleb fired back, dropping one soldier, then another. But more surged forward, their blades glinting. The refugees scrambled up the ship's ramp. Caleb moved with ruthless precision, but he wasn't fast enough to catch the movement at the bay's entrance. A tall figure stepped through the smoke. Armor, darker than obsidian. A crest of jagged horns curling from his helmet. His presence alone silenced the room. The Dominion commander. He surveyed the scene with cruel calm. His voice, deep and cold, echoed through a translation implant. "So, one of the forgotten. A human." Caleb froze, rifle aimed steady. His secret, the thing he had guarded for years, was laid bare in an instant. The commander's lip curled. "We thought your kind scattered into dust. But dust has teeth, it seems. No matter, the Dominion consumes all." He raised a clawed hand. "Take him alive." The soldiers surged forward. Caleb fired, dropping 2, then 3, but a stun blast caught his shoulder, searing pain through his nerves. He stumbled, his rifle clattering to the ground. Hands grabbed him, armored fists striking. He fought like a wild animal, but sheer numbers dragged him down. From the ship's ramp, Reeses shouted, "Caleb!" Caleb looked up, blood on his face, rage in his eyes. "Go!" he roared. "Get them out. Don't wait for me." The commander stepped closer, towering over him. "You will show us where Earth hides. You will open its secrets. And when we burn it, you will watch." Caleb spat blood into his visor. "You'll never touch it." The commander struck him across the jaw, darkness rushing in. The last thing Caleb heard before blacking out was the ship's engines roaring and the refugees escaping into the void. And then silence. When Caleb woke, he was bound. Metal cuffs dug into his wrists. A collar locked around his neck. He lay on a Dominion dropship floor. the hum of engines vibrating through the steel. Vela's face came again. Her eyes, her fear. Was she alive? Where? His own fate seemed clear. Torture. Interrogation. The Dominion would strip him of every secret they thought he held. Asterisk. But Caleb's jaw tightened. He had something they couldn't understand. Something no Dominion officer could break. He had hope in Earth. Hours blurred. Caleb was dragged into a Dominion cruiser's chamber-cold steel, lit by green flame-like light. The commander stood at the center, waiting. Before him, shackled and beaten, was Vela. Caleb's breath caught. Relief and fury clashed in his chest. She was alive, but broken, bruised, trembling. Her silver hair was tangled, her violet eyes dim but defiant. "Caleb," she whispered. The commander smiled. "So, 2 fugitives. How convenient." He circled them like a predator. "You humans think yourselves clever, hiding your cradle. World whispering signals in the dark. But we will find it, with or without you." He leaned close, his voice a hiss. "And when we do, we will erase your kind forever." Caleb met his gaze, blood dripping from his lip. Despite the pain, despite the chains, his eyes burned unbroken. "You have no idea what's waiting for you on Earth." The commander laughed, sharp and cruel, but far beyond the Dominion ship. Across the void, the signal from Earth pulsed again. Stronger, clearer. "We are coming home." Asterisk, the Dominion's grip. The Dominion ship was a tomb of steel and shadows. Its walls pulsed faint green with bioluminescent veins, organic machinery fused with metal. The air smelled of iron, ozone, and something sour like rot trapped under armor. Caleb hung from restraints in the interrogation chamber, wrists pulled above his head, his feet barely touching the cold floor. Shackles cut into his skin. His body ached from beatings, ribs sore, but he stayed conscious. He always stayed conscious. Vela was chained beside him. Her glow dimmed, her silver hair tangled with blood, yet her violet eyes burned with quiet defiance. Even broken, she carried herself with dignity. The Dominion commander loomed before them, his black armor gleaming in the eerie light. He paced. Slowly, claws clicking on the metal floor. "You humans are stubborn," he said, voice deep and mocking. "Always grasping at survival, always crawling back from the edge. But your tricks cannot hide what we already know." He pressed a clawed hand on the console. A projection flickered in the air Earth symbol, faintly reconstructed from stolen data. A blue-green sphere wrapped in coordinates. "Your cradle world lives, and when we breach its veil, its secrets will be ours." Caleb's jaw tightened. "You won't touch it." The commander turned his cold gaze on him. "Bravery in chains is only noise." He gestured. A soldier stepped forward, activating a control on Caleb's collar. Agony surged through Caleb's body like molten fire. His back arched, his throat tore with a ragged cry. He collapsed forward, gasping. Ve strained against her bonds. "Stop," she cried. "He knows nothing. You'll kill him." The commander tilted his head. "If he dies, so be it. But I think—" He studied Caleb like a specimen. "He is more dangerous alive." He leaned close, his voice low. "Show us the veil. Show us the path to Earth, and I might let your friend live." Caleb spat blood at his boots. "Go to hell." The commander's smile was thin. He turned away. "Take them to the holding decks. They'll break in time." The holding decks were less prison, more warehouse of suffering. Dozens of cages lined the cavernous chamber, packed with refugees from Koresh-Savarin. Others, too. Families huddled, wounded groaned. The Dominion fed them scraps, kept them weak, waiting to be sold, enslaved, or executed. Guards stalked the aisles with heavy rifles. Drones hovered overhead, their green optics scanning. Caleb and Vela were thrown into one of the cages. The gate clanged shut. Inside, silence fell. The prisoner stared at Caleb with wide, haunted eyes. A whisper rippled through them. Human. Caleb slumped against the wall, every muscle screaming. He tried to steady his breathing, to bury the pain. He glanced at Vela. She leaned against the bars, face pale but alive. You all right? He rasped. She gave a weak smile. I should ask you that. He chuckled, then winced at the pain in his ribs. I've been worse. Her hand brushed his, a quiet connection in the dark. You shouldn't have come back for me. Not leaving. You, he said simply. Her eyes softened. For a moment, the war outside didn't matter. Hours bled into days. Dominion guards dragged prisoners away. Some returned broken. Most never came back. Caleb studied everything. The guards' patrols, the drones' movement, the locks on the cages. His mind worked like it always did, turning problems into puzzles. He scavenged pieces. A shard of plating from the floor, a bent nail hidden in his sleeve, wires stripped from a broken drone one careless guard left too close. To others' junk. To Caleb, opportunity. At night, when the guards were fewer, he worked. Fingers careful, silent. Piece by piece, he built a device small enough to hide in his palm. A crude spark generator enough to fry a lock for seconds. On the third night, Vela watched him work, whispering, You never stop, do you? Caleb smirked faintly. Machines don't care if you're tired. They only care if you figure them out. She touched his hand lightly. That's why your people endure. He looked at her, really looked at the bruises on her face, at the strength still in her eyes. And he realized it wasn't just Earth he fought for anymore. It was her too. The break came faster than he planned. A guard dragged a Severan child from the cage across the aisle. The boy screamed, clinging to his mother. She begged, but the guard struck her down and pulled the boy toward the doors. Caleb's chest ignited with rage. He couldn't wait anymore. He flicked his device, a sharp crackle sparking in his palm. He pressed it against the cage lock. For a heartbeat, nothing. And the door clicked. Open. He surged forward, slamming into the unsuspecting guard. The soldier crashed into the floor, rifle skittering away. Caleb grabbed it, swung, and fired point blank. The alien's chest blew apart. The prisoners gasped. The chamber erupted in chaos. Move! Caleb shouted. Everyone out now. Panic became freedom. The cages burst open, prisoners pouring into the aisles. Guards rushed in, but Caleb was faster. He fired, rolled, struck with brutal precision. Every move burned his battered body, but adrenaline drowned the pain. Vela fought. Beside him, tearing a blade from a fallen guard, her movements swift, graceful, deadly. For every blow that nearly took Caleb down, she was there, covering his blind side. Together, they carved a path through the chaos, but alarm screamed. Reinforcements thundered down the halls. They couldn't hold forever. Control room. Caleb shouted, pointing down a corridor. We get there, we can open the docks. The refugees followed, driven by raw survival. They burst into the control chamber. Consoles glowed with Dominion symbols, drones charging online. Caleb didn't hesitate. He ripped panels open, sparks flying. His hands flew across circuits, bypassing locks, feeding power loops. Vela guarded the door, cutting down any soldier who pushed through. Her violet eyes glowed fierce. Caleb, she called, blades slick with alien blood. We're running out of time. I just need... He slammed a cable into place. 2 more seconds. The console screamed with overload. Caleb grinned savagely. Got it. The docks open. Prisoners streamed toward the hangars, toward ships that had been waiting. Locked, abandoned. But Caleb wasn't done. He tapped his comms unit, patched into the Dominion relay, and sent a burst through the void. Not just a signal. A message. Asterisk coordinates locked. Veil confirmed. Earth loves. Requesting aid. He braced for silence. For nothing. Instead a voice. Clear, strong, human. Signal received. Stand fast. Fleet en route. Caleb's heart slammed in his chest. He closed. His eyes, relief crashing over him like a wave. Humanity was out there. Alive. Listening. Coming. Vela turned, wide-eyed. Was that? He nodded, a wild grin breaking through blood and exhaustion. That was home. The chamber shook violently. Outside, the black void lit with fire. Not Dominion fire. Something else. Ships. Sleek, angular, armored like predators. They slipped from the dark like ghosts, their engines silent, their weapons glowing with lethal promise. Asterisk, the first Dominion cruiser split apart under a barrage of white-hot railfire. The second shattered in flames. The galaxy had forgotten humans. Now. They were back, and they were too strong to stop. Asterisk, the return of humanity. The void outside the Dominion cruiser exploded with light. Not fire, not chaos, but precision. Sleek black. Ships emerged from the dark, like predators breaking surface. Their hulls shaped not for beauty, but survival-angled armor, reinforced plating, engines burning with controlled fury. They were human ships, but not the clumsy freighters the galaxy mocked, not the refugee crafts patched together with scrap. These were weapons. The human fleet. Asterisk, the first volley came in silence. White-hot kinetic rounds tore through Dominion shields. Like paper, ripping cruisers apart with surgical accuracy. There were no wasted shots, no scattered fire. Each strike was deliberate. Prisoners and Dominion soldiers alike stopped, staring through the viewports at the impossible sight. Caleb's chest heaved as he pressed against the control room window. Vela at his side. His eyes widened, not with fear, but with something far deeper. Asterisk. Pride. God Almighty, he whispered. We're back. Vela's breath caught. Those are human ships? Caleb nodded slowly. His throat tightened. He had dreamed of this moment, but never truly believed it. Humanity, his people had been scattered, mocked, pitied. Now the galaxy would see the truth. They had not died. They had endured. The Dominion scrambled to respond. Cruisers swung about, their cannons blazing green fire. Fighters screamed into the void like swarms of locusts. But the human fleet moved with brutal efficiency. Where Dominion ships lunged with reckless aggression, human ships danced with precision. Wing of interceptors cut through enemy fighters, their railguns shredding wings in clean bursts. A single carrier launched drones, small, fast, invisible to Dominion targeting. The drones swarmed into a battleship's vents, detonating from within. The battleship cracked apart, silent screams vanishing in vacuum. Humanity didn't fight for spectacle. They fought to win. Inside the Dominion cruiser, panic rippled. Alarm screamed. Soldiers shouted in their guttural tongue. Their confidence absolute minutes ago crumbled under the weight of reality. Caleb seized the moment. This is our chance. Move the prisoners to the hangar now. Vela nodded, blade flashing as she cut down a guard. Refugees poured through. The halls, driven by a fire they hadn't felt in years. Hope. Caleb led them to the hangar bay. Through the massive doors, they saw the battle unfolding. Human destroyers, carving through Dominion lines. Corvettes weaving between behemoths, every movement like a blade stroke. One ship, larger than the rest, moved to the front. Its hull was matte black, its insignia a stylized earth crest. The sight of it stole Caleb's breath. That was no warship. That was a flagship dot. Its coms burst through the Dominion's channel, overriding every frequency. A voice clear and commanding. This is Admiral Mara Keen of the Terran Fleet. To all humans in bondage, to all allies in chains, your exile ends today. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. Stand with us and fight. The hangar erupted with cheers. Even the Sevaran refugees, who had never set foot on Earth, wept at the words. Vela gripped Caleb's arm, trembling. They came for you. Caleb swallowed hard. They came for all of us. Dropships launched from the flagship, sleek and angular, their hulls lined with modular plating. They didn't descend with fire. They moved like shadows, silent, controlled. When they breached the Dominion cruiser, their ramps fell, and human soldiers stormed in. They weren't like the soldiers Caleb remembered. Their armor was matte gray, flexible yet impenetrable, helmets shaped with predator-like visors. Their weapons hummed with precision, part kinetic, part plasma, part something new. But beneath the armor, Caleb knew. They were his people. His. Kin.1 soldier spotted him through the chaos. She paused, visor locking on his face. Human? She demanded. Caleb raised his chin, bloody but unbroken. Yeah, Caleb Rains. Mechanic. She saluted sharply. Welcome home. Caleb's throat caught. He'd waited his whole life to hear those words. The Dominion commander roared into the hangar, black armor scorched but intact. His massive frame towered over the chaos, his claws dripping with blood. You think your return matters? He bellowed. The Dominion is eternal. You are only one world, one fleet. He never finished. The flagship's main gun fired. A beam of condensed white light lanced through the cruiser's hull, vaporizing the commander in an instant. The entire hangar shook as the Dominion flagship split apart. For the first time, the galaxy had seen a Dominion warlord fall without glory, without mercy. Simply erased, the prisoners were evacuated by human dropships. Caleb guided Vela aboard one, helping her into a seat. Her eyes never left him. You'll see it now, won't you? She asked softly. Earth? Caleb nodded, jaw tight. If they'll let me. The dropship lifted, slipping into the void. Caleb pressed against the viewport, staring at the fleet. Outside, dozens of ships, hundreds of weapons, all built in silence, hidden from the galaxy dot and beyond them. Through the swirling wreckage, something else emerged. A massive projection filled the void. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. The image pulsed from the flagship, sent to every channel, every world within range. Earth. Not dead. Not ruined. Beautiful. Alive. But different. Orbiting Earth were colossal defense platforms, bristling with weapons. Shipyards stretched across its skies, forging new vessels. The surface itself glowed faintly. Wrapped in a shimmering barrier, the veil field the Dominion had feared. Earth wasn't just alive, it was a fortress. Caleb's chest tightened, his eyes burned. All his life he had carried the shame of being. From a dead world? Now he saw what his people had built. Vela gasped beside him, awe breaking through her exhaustion. You hid this all this time? Caleb whispered, voice shaking. We didn't hide. We rebuilt. The transmission carried the final words of Admiral Keen, her voice echoing across the stars. To the galaxy, humanity has returned. Stand. With us or stand aside. In the Dominion's remaining fleet, silence fell. Their commanders watched Earth appear before them, more powerful than rumor ever dared. Their soldiers wavered. The galaxy itself trembled. On the dropship, Caleb leaned. Back, exhausted, battered, but alive. He looked at Vela. She looked at him. For the first time in years, he let himself smile. Home, he whispered. But deep in his gut, he knew the war wasn't over. The Dominion wouldn't stop. They couldn't, and humanity wouldn't forgive. Storm had only begun. Asterisk. Too strong to stop, the dropship touched down inside a cavernous bay, deep within the Terran flagship. The doors sealed, atmosphere flooded in, and the ramp hissed open. Caleb stumbled out with the other freed prisoners. He froze. This wasn't the Earth fleet he remembered. The hangar stretched like a city block, filled with ships, drones, armored. Walkers. Engineers in sleek gray suits worked with methodical precision, their tools glowing with strange new energies. Soldiers moved in formation, their weapons locked to magnetic strips on their armor. Every surface was clean, efficient, controlled. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had become something else. Vela looked around, awe widening her eyes. Your people. They are like a new species. Caleb swallowed, throat dry. No, they're still human, just hardened. A woman. In command armor strode forward, flanked by guards. She was tall, hair silvered by age, but eyes sharp as steel. Caleb Rains? She asked. He nodded slowly. She extended her hand. Admiral Mara Keen. Welcome home. Caleb gripped her hand, calloused palm meeting metal gauntlet. His voice cracked. I thought Earth was gone. Asterisk, her gaze softened, just for a heartbeat. That's what we wanted the galaxy to think. They walked together through the flagship. Vela followed, silent but watchful. Keen explained as they passed glowing holomaps and strategy tables. When the Dominion burned our colonies, we pulled back. Not because we were weak, but because we refused to play their game. We vanished. We rebuilt Earth into a fortress. We developed weapons they couldn't counter. We trained an army bred for survival. Asterisk, her jaw tightened. We let them believe we were broken. Now we return. Caleb's hands trembled. The words filled him with pride, but also unease. Admiral, he asked quietly, how many years did you plan this? Her eyes flicked to him. Since the day we lost the colonies. Generations. Every child born on Earth was raised for this moment. Caleb shivered. A whole people, children, family shaped into soldiers for revenge. He couldn't decide if it was brilliant or terrifying. Vela whispered, this is no longer defense. This is war. Asterisk, in the strategy chamber, human commanders stood around a massive projection of the sector. Red markers flashed Dominion reinforcements converging. The fleet they had crushed was only the first wave. They're coming in force, one officer said. If they breach Mars Gate, they'll drive straight into Sol. Keen's expression didn't waver. Then we hold Mars Gate. The projection shifted. Mars appeared red, scarred, wrapped in orbital defenses. Massive cannons lined its surface, linked by lattice shields. Around it hung the gate, a colossal artificial ring that powered faster than light, jumps into Sol. If the Dominion took it, Earth would fall. Asterisk, Keen's voice hardened. This will be their last chance. We crush them at Mars Gate, and the Dominion will never recover. Her eyes scanned the room and locked on Caleb. You survived the worst of them. You know their tactics. I want you advising my strike teams. Caleb blinked. Me? Admiral, I'm just a mechanic. Keen's mouth twitched, the hint of a smile. Mechanics keep the galaxy alive. You'll see what I mean. Asterisk, the fleet mobilized. Colossal carriers slid into formation. Destroyers and corvettes darted between them like wolves among giants. Civilian ships, refugee craft, mining haulers, even battered freighters were drawn into protective convoys, shielded by military escorts. At the center, Earth itself glowed. In the distance, shields shimmering faintly against the void. Caleb watched from the hangar deck as Vela approached, her blade still at her hip. You are afraid, she said simply. Asterisk. He sighed. I don't know if I belong here anymore. They're soldiers, strategists. I'm just trying to survive. Vela touched his arm, her dark eyes steady. Survival is why you do belong. These admirals may know war, but you know. Endurance. That is the heart of humanity. Her words cut through the doubt. Caleb clenched his jaw, nodding. Then I'll fight. Hours later, the Terran fleet dropped into position near Marsgate, and there the Dominion waited. The stars bled. Red as hundreds of ships warped in colossal battleships, jagged cruisers, endless swarms of fighters. Their flagship dwarfed the rest, a monstrous fortress ship bristling with cannons the size of cities. The Dominion had committed everything. Caleb felt his gut twist at the sight. The numbers alone dwarfed humanity's fleet. God, there's too many. But Admiral Keene's voice cut sharp across the command channel. We don't need to match them. We just need to break them. The battle began. Human destroyers surged forward, launching swarms of drones that darted between enemy shields, detonating in brutal waves. Dominion fighters countered, clawing them apart. Railguns lit the void, streaks of white fire carving into crimson hulls. Plasma cannons answered, vaporizing corvettes in bursts of green. The battlefield became a storm of light and silence, ships shattering like glass in the Black Sea. Caleb manned a station on the flagship, coordinating repair drones across the fleet. He guided swarms of them into damaged hulls, patching breaches. Mid-battle, sweat slicked his brow as he worked furiously, his mechanic's instincts guiding him where war maps failed. Unit 3. Divert to Carrier 9. Its reactors unstable. No, reroute power before you weld it shut. His voice cracked as explosions rocked the flagship. He wasn't a soldier. But damn it, he could keep them alive. The Dominion pressed harder. Their flagship unleashed a beam that split a Terran cruiser. In two, fighters swarmed Mars Gate, hammering its shields. On the command deck, alarms wailed. Shields at 60%. Keene's voice stayed calm. Hold the line. But Caleb saw the truth on the monitors. The Dominion wasn't just fighting. They were driving straight for the gate. If they took it, Earth would burn. And the Dominion, flagship colossal, impenetrable, led the charge. Keene turned to Caleb suddenly. You know their weak points. Tell me, how do we kill that thing? Caleb froze, staring at the monstrous projection. His gut told him the truth. There was no clean kill. But then he remembered. The Dominion's pride, their arrogance, lay in their power cores. Exposed vents, shielded but necessary to vent plasma. On smaller ships, they were easy targets. On something that size, suicidal, but not impossible. Caleb's hands trembled. You'd have to hit their vent arrays from inside. No railgun. No missile could do it, but a boarding team could. Keene studied him. Then she nodded once. You'll lead it? Caleb's heart slammed against his ribs. What? Admiral, I'm not. You survived their prisons. You know their ships. My soldiers will follow. You're the one who can get them in. Vela stepped forward, her voice steel. Then I go too. Caleb's mouth opened, but no words came. He saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire he'd seen. When she saved him in the prison got finally, he nodded. Minutes later, Caleb and Vela boarded a strike shuttle with a squad of armored Terran Marines. The shuttle roared from the flagship, weaving through chaos, dodging plasma fire and railgun bursts. Ahead loomed the Dominion fortress ship, its black hull glowing with power, vent arrays pulsing with red light. The Marine beside Caleb grinned under his visor. Never thought I'd follow a mechanic into hell. Caleb smirked grimly. Hell's where mechanics do their best work. The shuttle plunged into the storm. They breached the fortress ship, cutting into its vent shaft. Dominion guards surged. To meet them, claws flashing, weapons spitting green fire. The Marines responded with disciplined bursts, clearing the way. Caleb and Vela led the charge deeper into the bowels of the beast. The heat grew unbearable, plasma roaring through conduits. Beside them, every step was a gamble, one wrong move, and the ship itself would incinerate them. Behind them, the battle outside raged, got ahead of them. The Dominion commander awaited that asterisk. The heart of the beast, the shaft shook with the roar of plasma. The heat pressed against Caleb's skin, even through the armored suit they had given him. His breath came in short gasps as the strike team advanced, boots pounding the narrow metal walkway dot above. Plasma conduits pulsed like veins, each one carrying enough energy to vaporize a city. This wasn't a hallway, it was the fortress ship's beating heart dot, and the Dominion meant to protect it. Alien soldiers poured from the shadows, armored carapaces gleaming red in the glow. Their weapons shrieked, bolts of green energy slicing through the haze. Contact. A Marine shouted, returning fire. The air exploded into chaos. Marines fired disciplined bursts, their rail rifles cracking with sharp white flashes. Alien claws scraped across armor. Grenades burst, filling the shaft with fire and smoke. Caleb ducked low, instincts honed in years of surviving Dominion cells. He wasn't the fastest or strongest, but he saw. He spotted gaps, angles, patterns in enemy. Movement. Their left flank, above the vent. He shouted. A Marine snapped his rifle up, firing into the shadows. An alien collapsed, screeching. Vela moved like a storm. Her blade shimmered in arcs of silver, cutting down enemies faster than they could react. She fought with fury and precision, each strike burning with personal vengeance. But for every enemy they dropped, more came. Caleb's gut twisted. They're stalling us. They know where we're headed. The team pushed forward, deeper into the fortress ship. Bulkheads hissed. Open. Heat grew worse. The metal under their boots trembled with the ship's pulse. Finally, the shaft opened into a chamber the size of a stadium, and there it was, the plasma core, a sphere of burning energy, suspended in magnetic fields, venting streams of light into conduits that vanished into the void. It throbbed like a living star inside metal veins. The room was ringed with control platforms, walkways, and turrets, and standing on the highest platform cloaked in crimson armor was the Dominion warlord. His voice echoed, deep and resonant. So, the lost children of Earth crawl back from their grave. The Marines spread out, rifles raised. Caleb's heart hammered. He had seen this warlord before on broadcasts, propaganda feeds, Dominion sermons. A living symbol of their conquest. The warlord raised a clawed hand. You think you are strong. You think you can resist the Dominion, but you are flesh. And flesh breaks. His soldiers poured into the chamber. The last stand began. Asterisk gunfire erupted. Marines fired in controlled volleys, holding platforms one by one. Drones darted overhead, spraying suppressive fire. The Dominion pressed from every angle, snarling, shrieking, their claws scraping metal. Caleb ducked behind a console, wrenching open a panel. Sparks showered his face as he ripped out conduits. Rerouting power. I can overload the vents, he shouted. But I need time. Vela's blade clashed against alien steel, sparks scattering. She kicked an enemy back, shouting, Then we give you time. The Marines rallied around Caleb, forming a shield wall of bodies and rifles. For every Marine that fell, another stepped into the gap. Caleb's hands flew across wires, instincts taking over. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't trained for this. But machines spoke to him, and right now this fortress screamed. Asterisk, he found the vent control shielded, locked behind Dominion code. His breath caught. Damn it. They changed the systems. I can't crack this fast enough. The warlords. Laugh thundered across the chamber. You will fail, and Earth will burn again. Caleb's jaw clenched. No, not again. He grabbed a data spike, slamming it into the console. Sparks exploded, electricity surging through his arm. Pain seared, but the lock cracked. The vent shields flickered. Now! Caleb roared. Vela leapt, sprinting across the walkway. She moved like lightning, her blade slicing open the first vent array. Superheated plasma vented outward, searing enemies where they stood. The Marines targeted the others, grenades blasting open conduits. Each vent ruptured, spilling raw power into the chamber. Asterisk, the fortress ship groaned, metal straining under its own fury. The warlord bellowed in rage, leaping down from his platform. He landed with a crash that shook the walkway. His blade, too. Meters of jagged plasma flared to life. He charged. Asterisk, the Marines fired, but the warlord moved too fast, too strong. He carved through them, each strike cutting armor like paper. Their line broke. Vela stepped forward to meet him. Their blades clashed, sparks and fire lighting the chamber. Caleb's stomach clenched as he watched them duel. Vela fought with fury, striking faster than any human could. But the warlord was relentless, stronger, every blow shaking her to the core. Asterisk. Caleb knew she couldn't win alone. He glanced back at the console overloading, screaming warnings. The fortress would tear itself apart soon. But not soon enough. Unless his eyes locked on the vent's core regulator. A manual override. Exposed. It would take one person to jam it open fully. But anyone who did would never walk away? Caleb's breath hitched. His mind screamed no. But his heart already knew. He sprinted for the regulator. Caleb. Vela's voice cut through the clash of blades. She saw where he was going. Her eyes widened. Don't! But he was already there. He grabbed the lever, muscles straining as the heat seared through his gloves. Pain scorched his skin, but he pulled with everything he had. The regulator groaned, then snapped. The vent blew wide open. Plasma roared free, energy cascading across the chamber. The fortress shuddered, alarms howling. The warlord staggered, armor scorched. Vela seized the moment, driving her blade into his chest. He roared, collapsing in a storm of sparks. The fortress began to tear itself apart. The Marines hauled Caleb up, half conscious. His hands burned raw. He gasped through clenched teeth. Vela knelt beside him, grabbing his shoulders. You fool, she whispered, her voice shaking. You damn fool. Caleb managed a weak grin. Mechanic's job. Keep things running. Or break them when it counts. The Marines dragged him toward the shuttle as the chamber collapsed. Flames poured from ruptured conduits. The plasma core cracked, light consuming everything. They barely made it out, shuttle engines screaming as they launched from the fortress ship. Behind them, the Dominion flagship exploded in a storm of white fire. The blast rippled across the battlefield, enemy ships scattering in chaos. Humanity's fleet surged forward, pressing the attack. One by one, Dominion ships broke and burned. The battle was over. Hours later, Caleb woke in the flagship's medbay. His body ached, his hands wrapped in bandages. Vela sat beside him, her blade resting across her knees. She looked at him, eyes softer now. You should be dead, she whispered. He smiled faintly. Guess I'm too stubborn. Her hand touched his. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Admiral Keen entered. Her armor was scarred, her face grim, but her eyes held something new. Not just steel. Hope. You did it, she said quietly. The Dominion broke. The fleet's retreating. For the first time in generations, humanity stands free. Caleb swallowed hard. We won. Keen nodded. We won. And we're not hiding anymore. She looked out the viewport, where Earth shone in the distance, blue and alive. Humans. Return to Earth, she whispered. And we are too strong to stop. The medbay fell silent. Caleb let the words sink in. But deep in his heart, he knew this wasn't the end. The Dominion would lick its wounds. Other empires would take notice. And humanity's return would shake the galaxy. He tightened his burned hand into a fist. Whatever came. Next, humanity was ready. And so was he. Asterisk.